listen, it's okay. And you come up with your own conversation. It might be from your own life experience. You might be able to talk to them because you've been through the same thing that they've been through, and that's okay. The truth is, we should have those experiences in life so that we can help somebody else later in life when they're going through the very exact same thing. But business owners struggle with some certain things. We talk about selling for the public, and sometimes we want to get past that conversation. We want to talk about banks, and we want to talk about attorneys, and we want to talk about those great sellers, and they're great, and I want to talk about them for a little bit. But the public who you work for in real life and people in those places need some help, and they need it right now. Okay? You're going to provide solutions for them. Stewarding what's important to buyers and sellers, partners. We talk about this internally in our group a lot. We are stewards for somebody else. It's not about us, and it's about them. And the sooner we can get that into our heads, the better off we'll be and understand where we fit within this thing called the auction industry. We'll understand it. Let's talk about that in a minute. Banks. Banks are good clients. So we like banks from a couple of different positions within a bank's kind of needs. There are things called, and if you ever call on banks, you're going to call on either a workout department. Workout department in a bank is a department where they know they've got a problem with a borrower. They already know it. There's this department that's assigned to deal with that borrower, and that workout person is going to try to find a solution to be able to resolve, that debt. It might be in some cases selling off some parts of the assets and not all of the assets. It might be sometimes, having to sell all those assets. It just depends on where they're at, but the workout department is charged with that. In real estate, you don't see that as much. Workout departments are primarily for what we call chattel assets. Fixtures, equipment, SBA loans are all kind of subject to those workout departments. They have some rules. Special assets departments are another department within a bank, and that's when they now they have to deal with the assets. So the special assets department is not REO. REO department's another one. Real estate owned is just real estate by itself. Although real estate owned still deals with special assets in some cases in the workout department. But that special asset department now has they got a problem, and they got a problem right now. They got it. Yesterday, talk about the life of an auctioneer. Yesterday, I'm in Xenia, Ohio, and a Subway store, and the bank calls, and what happens always? Subway's putting another franchisee in the prior existing Subway store, and he says, if you don't come get this equipment, we're going to send it on the street. Now I'm dealing with a special assets department at the bank that says, I got to deal with all of these assets, and I don't have any time. So on a truck, go pick up and load out a Subway store. They got to have it done, and they got to have it done right now. You got to be able to drop what you're doing somehow and go do it. Okay? Lessons learned yesterday was on a soda dispenser, make sure that the compressor is pumped down before you cut lines. Because I tasted every flavor within the Coke spectrum, cutting the line just
around the world.
kind of crazy. Banks are good work. Banks are non-emotional clients. I love banks. I love them. Non-emotional, nothing attached to it. It is a balance sheet. It's a bottom line. There's a process. They have to appraise those things if it's an SBA-backed loan or any other kind of loan. But guess what? When it sells, and they're fine with that. It's a good space to work in. You're going to make contact with anyone that's a banker, anyone that's in your area. It's going to take you a while to gain their confidence and their trust, because the truth of the matter is they already have a solution. And the only reason that they're going to hire you is that they got a problem with what has been their solution in the past. Courts, and there are all kinds of courts. Courts are probate. You probably talked a little bit about probate, right? Mm-hmm. Probate courts are great spaces to work in. It's constant. If you work in estate work, guess what never happens when the economy turns? Business never rides up and it never rides down. I'm convinced over the last 50 years people have died at the same rate that they have for whatever period of time it's been before. So probate cases and probate work is good work. Bankruptcy court work. In that space, bankruptcy court work, you're going to work for somebody called a trustee. And a trustee is appointed by and on the panel, and there's only a certain number of them. I think in Columbus-ish Southern District or Southeast District, we've got about 12. There are no more. Again, if I'm telling you where to go look at to get business and you're gonna try to get into that bankruptcy space, it's gonna take you a while to get into it, because every one of those 12 bankruptcy trustees has a solution. And they're not gonna change who they're gonna use in that solution unless they got a problem with who they've been using in the solution. But bankruptcy court work is good work, right? You get an order to sell, and you get to sell it. In a lot of cases, the judges can be temperamental. They like to put reserves on things that we don't like in our industry, but you've got to work within that spectrum sometimes. Attorneys, when you talk about attorneys, there's, I'm gonna back up to courts for a little bit. There's a new court that you can work a lot in called an environmental court. Any of you worked in that space? So sometimes it's under common pleas, but there's a law that got passed 2 years ago that says if your neighbor's property is an eyesore and you have a community organization, you can appoint a receiver to take over ownership of that property. It is a radical law that got passed. It's very radical, but what it was meant to do was to take some neighborhoods where they had some problems with either landlords or maintaining real estate, and it was a blighted area, that they could now appoint a receiver to take over all of that real estate, and even provide dollars for the fix-up of that real estate provided by the environmental court to then turn around and sell that real estate. Receivership is the space that you're going to work in if you work in that space. It's not you being appointed by the neighborhood association. You're still going to be appointed by the environmental court. Okay. Special assets attorneys. So we work for attorneys. How many of you like to work for attorneys? You think you want to work for attorneys? I keep thinking I'm talking to a seasoned class. But attorneys are a great source, right? How hard is it to contact attorneys? Impossible. Seems like, doesn't it? You know why, don't you? They get paid by the hour.
Yep.
If they're talking to you, they're not billing anybody. It's just simple as it goes, right? It's hard to get in the door. It's hard to get time with them. Timing is critical when you talk to attorneys. Being present as often as you can be present. And again, there's no secrets in this industry. We all understand what these things are, who we want to go after and who we want to talk to. But on the attorney space, I think you have to understand who's doing the work. Don't spend your time on someone that's not filing a lot of cases. It's not going to do you that much good. Speak to the attorneys that really fit maybe your age group, as crazy as this sounds, because they're more relatable.
Yeah.
And then as you grow, attorneys do the same thing with their clients, right? They have all these clients they work with for a lifetime, and if they're in the probate space, their clients begin to pass away, and that's when even the attorney wants to slow down, right? Guess who he really wants help with? Guess what he's not doing anymore? He's not managing any administration of the case. When that happens, he calls you up and says, listen, I'll be back from Florida in 3 months, sell this stuff, make it go away. It's that mindset, because at that point, they're just tired. They're just kind of worn out. Real estate agents. How many of you work with real estate agents or want to? And they're a great group to work with. Real estate agents, as being what we kind of call them, or call partners, are folks who are going to be first in the door when someone dies, before they call the funeral home, before they call the attorney. There's a real estate agent walking in that door. Because I don't care who these folks are, that becomes the first information they want to know.
They sure do.
Yep. You think you're important? I even told my kids this. I think I'm important. I figured this out after being in this business a long time. You will stop for a moment and bow your head. And you'll step over my dead cold body and move on. And in this auction industry, when I die, someone's going to step where I have been. And they're going to step right over me. The significance isn't there like we think it's going to be. We think more of ourselves than folks around us think of us. So I think it's important to understand, especially when you work with real estate agents, where they impact the marketplace. They are present, they're everywhere. How do you begin to partner with them to be able to provide solutions? Because when a real estate agent walks into a property and it's full of stuff, what's their first immediate need? What do I do with this stuff? How do I deal with the stuff that's in the house? And when you can get an in with some real estate agents, then you can continue to have business with them. That's not just one transaction at a time, but it's a lifetime of transactions. We work with nonprofits, and we're blessed to be able to, in our business, again, we're just talking about our business, we're blessed to be able to work with a lot of nonprofits in that nonprofit space. We didn't know that you could charge for this. I'm sure you guys probably learned that this week, right? How many of you interested in getting in the nonprofit space? Yeah. That nonprofit space has become really an industry that's unique. I'm intrigued by, collecting a commission and being a part of that process, or just showing up and so if I had to do it again, I'm at the end of my run. I'm not going to do it. Some of our folks do that, but I think it's interesting to show that there's value there. We did it going way back because for us it was a way for us to give back, and that was our mindset. We didn't charge because we appreciated what those folks did at the James. We appreciated what those folks did at St. Jude. We appreciated what those folks did at any number of the Dave Thomas Foundation. All of those, we appreciated what those folks did. And so we just stepped along beside them and said, hey, listen, we'll take care of you. Now, that's worked out really well for us. We do, between my son Brian and I, about 100 a year-ish or so in the nonprofit space. And so we're doing a couple a week, every week. Between he and I, he's going somewhere and I'm going somewhere. Tomorrow night, I've got one, we've probably got two. It's just, there's that much of a need that's in the marketplace. So it's kind of a unique place to be. For us, I've been blessed to travel the entire country doing benefit auctions. And they paid my way. I go on the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer. I get a 1-week paid vacation every year in the Caribbean. I'll take that trade for working on that ship every year. It's fine with me. I have traveled with St. Jude. I've been to Memphis. I have traveled with groups called Songs for Sound across the country, from Chicago to Oklahoma City to New York. Dave Thomas Foundation started doing their auctions at the Wendy's conventions. I've done auctions in front of 3,000 to 4,000 people. Just came back. Matter of fact, I just emceed their convention in Florida this year. And that's kind of incredible. I tell the story when I was young and I was a hillbilly. I mean, I was as hill jack as you could get, I promise you. I'm in Columbus in 1990, and I've just been here since '88, and I just figured out how to tie my shoes, because I just pulled boots on my entire life. Didn't know how you're supposed to tie shoes, put a suit on. They fly me out to Vegas, Henderson as a matter of fact, for the first, and I've done the 3 Tour Challenge here, and they just thought that was kind of cool and said, would you go to Henderson with us? And I said, sure. They flew me out there, put me up in a Ritz-Carlton, and I traveled all day, and I laid down in the bed, and a knock came on the door, and this guy said, and I came up and I said, yeah. He said, turn down service. Now, I didn't have a clue what turn down service was. How do you know what turn down service is? See, you're like me, turn down service. Just kind of back up, and I said, I don't know what he's going to do, but I don't know. I'm supposed to know. He walks in, he turns my bed sheets down. Yeah. He makes this animal out of a washcloth and puts it at the end. Yeah. He puts a piece of chocolate on top of that towel. Yeah. He leaves the room, and I tell you what, I laughed the rest of the night. I thought there's something sugar. 2 doors down at the Ritz, he ain't going to bed yet, because that dude ain't showed up to get his sheets down and get him to bed, right? And it's just bizarre, right? So next year I go back out to Vegas, and they put me up at whatever one. I've been to every one of the casinos out there. I remember the first one. And so it's time to do the auction, and they told me to go back to the green room. Where am I from? Southern Ohio. I'd think a green room would be green.
You can tell Mike Brantley that we're from the same place.
Yes, he would understand that, right? Yeah. Green room ain't green, just so you know. There ain't nothing green in the whole damn green room. Nothing green. I'm walking around backstage. Now they got monitors in that place bigger than this ball. And on the outside, all of these people are looking at. So someone says, well, the green room's over there. What's a daggum tent? Kind of. And I said, well, it's not green. So I walk in, they sit me down in the chair, and all of a sudden this lady walks over and she starts combing my hair. I got powder flying, and she goes through this process, and she gets a little thing of lipstick out, and I said, honey, listen, I've been fine till now. She says, well, we got to take care of the shine when you get out on stage, and I said, I don't care. You're not putting lipstick on these lips, honey. I was back. It ain't gonna happen, and I don't care who you are. I'm not doing that. Matter of fact, I almost left Vegas to come back home, and I thought these people are nuts. But it's kind of those cool experiences that if you step into that space and you want to be in some pretty cool environments. And again, I've been absolutely everywhere and enjoyed all that I've done. And I'm getting again close to the end of my run, so you two better step it up a little bit. But it's some cool stuff. You provide some things within the community, and I think that's what we decided, that we get to do some things for some folks that get to raise some dollars that impact people's lives that I can't touch and you can't touch, but they can touch. And that's the cool part about it, right? So that's the nonprofit space. All those things we do as an auction company. We're an auction company. I told you earlier, what is my problem? I'm a little confused because we're not sure who we are yet. We're still working on that a little bit, by the way, because the next slide becomes then the who we are as an Auction Ohio platform and the family. And so we developed our own software going way back in a proprietary sense, in that originally we were with Maxinet. I'm going way, way, way back, but